You ever feel like you're drowning in information but starving for actual wisdom? Like there's so much out there, but finding the stuff that really clicks, that changes how you see things, it's tough.
It really is. And that's exactly what we try to do here on the deep dive. We sift through those big, complex sources to pull up the core insights for you.
Exactly. And today we're diving into, well, a really deep one, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Ancient, profound, and definitely fits the bill for our listener who wants to get that deep understanding. But, efficiently, this text has layers upon layers.
Okay, and when we say sources, we're not talking about just one book here. We've got bits from different translations, commentaries.
Yeah, different perspectives, which is crucial because translating these ancient symbolic texts isn't straightforward. You get varying interpretations.
Different scholars, different takes. Makes sense.
So our job really is to navigate all that richness, those sometimes slightly different angles, and distill the essence for you.
We're aiming for the core concepts, right? The self, Brahman, meditation versus ritual, how everything's connected.
Exactly. Trying to make it clear, engaging, maybe spark a few aha moments without, overwhelming you with philosophical jargon.
Sounds like a plan. So where do we start? There's this term that pops up early on, uktha. Sounds, I don't know, significant.
It really is. The Upanishad talks about meditating on your vital force, your prana, as uktha.
Okay, prana, the life energy.
Right. And uktha is described as what raises up the universe. It's like this fundamental uplifting energy behind everything.
Raises the universe.
Right.
Wow, and what's the point of meditating on it like that? The sources mention something specific, like having a son who gets it.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Reflects the times, maybe the importance of lineage and knowledge.
Sure.
But looking deeper, it suggests that understanding and embodying this life force connects you deeply to, well, the source of life itself. It also talks about achieving unity, finding your place within the realm of uktha.
So aligning your own energy with the cosmic energy.
Sort of, yeah. And it's not the only way they frame meditating on vital force.
Oh, what else?
Well, there's meditating on as yajus, which highlights how all beings are joined, interconnected.
Okay.
And as saman, signifying union, bringing things together. And ksatra, which is fascinating, seeing the vital force is that which protects or heals wounds.
Protector,
Yeah.
healer. So prana is seen as this very active, sustaining force.
Absolutely. Multi-layered.
Okay. Now, another big theme seems to be this relationship between, like, actual rituals and inner meditation. How does the Upanishad handle that? Is one better than the other?
That's a key point. The Brihadaranyaka often does this amazing thing where it transforms external rituals into internal contemplative practices. Cosmic meditation, almost.
Cosmic meditation, like the Ashvamedha, the horse sacrifice. How does that become internal?
Right. Instead of focusing on the literal, massive ceremony, the Upanishad maps the cosmos onto the horse.
Maps the cosmos onto the horse. Okay, explain that.
So, like, the horse's back is the heavens, its belly the sky, its hooves the earth. You get the idea.
Ah, I see.
The point isn't the external actions, it's mentally grasping that interconnectedness. The ritual becomes a framework for understanding universal harmony.
So the real sacrifice is mental, understanding the connections.
Precisely. It shifts the focus inward, from doing to knowing, from the literal to the symbolic understanding of unity.
That's a really profound shift away from just external performance. Okay, let's get to the bedrock here. Brahman and the self. This feels central.
Absolutely fundamental. Brahman is presented as the ultimate reality. You often see the term Satchidananda used.
Satchidananda, existence, consciousness, bliss.
Exactly. But crucially, it's not defining a person or a god. It's describing the nature of eternity itself, the ground of all being.
The whatness of everything, not a who.
You got it. And a mind-bending part is this idea that at that level, being and knowing aren't separate. Knowledge is being.
Knowing is being. Wow. Okay. So where does my sense of me, myself, fit in? Jagjavaka talks about this, right?
He does. Yajnavalkya stresses that the self, your innermost core, is the dearest thing because it's the most internal. Everything else revolves around it.
Okay.
And the ultimate goal, knowing Brahman, leads to becoming all.
Becoming all, like merging.
Yes, but not like inflating the ego. It's realizing there was never any real separation to begin with. You dissolve the illusion of separateness and experience unity with Brahman.
A state beyond our usual boundaries.
Totally. They also use this term Purushavida, like in the form of a person, to describe the origin of the world.
How so?
Like the universe began as this single cosmic being, the Purusha, who became conscious of itself thinking, I am, that first flicker of self-awareness.
I am the start of it all. Okay, let's zoom back in a bit. The dialogues. Yajnavalkya and Gargi sounds like a heavyweight match.
Oh, it is. Gargi was a brilliant scholar herself. She challenges Yajnavalkya, asking him what pervades, well, everything.
Hmm?
Above heaven, below earth, between them, past, present, future.
Big questions. What does he say? Does he just give her the answer?
Not quite. He sort of guides her layer by layer towards something called the Sutrat Man.
Sutrat man, the thread self.
Yeah, like the underlying thread that holds everything together.
But Gargi doesn't stop there, does she?
Nope. She pushes further. What's the Sutrat Man itself woven on? She mentions the waters, maybe symbolizing that primal, undifferentiated state.
And Yajnavalkya's answer.
It's a bit elusive. He points towards the imperishable, something beyond description, beyond change, the ultimate foundation.
The imperishable. Sounds like we're back towards Brahman again.
Exactly. Different pointer, same ultimate reality. Now, there's also King Janaka.
Right. The king holding the big sacrifice, looking for the wisest scholar.
That's the one, offering 1,000 cows with gold on their horns as a prize.
Quite the prize.
And Yajnavalkya, well, he just tells his student to drive the cows away. Basically declares himself the winner before the debate even starts.
Ah, bold move. I bet that got a reaction.
You bet it did. Sparked a whole lot of questioning, especially from Janaka.
So what did Janaka ask?
Well, Janaka initially talks about meditating on the self as Brahman, which sounds right. But Yajnavalkya corrects him slightly.
Corrects him. How?
He says Janaka meditates on it as self-possessed. It's subtle.
Self-possessed. What's the difference?
It might imply still being tied to the individual self, maybe its connections like lineage or status, rather than fully realizing the universal unattached self. Yajnavalkya is pushing for that broader, deeper understanding. It's good, but maybe not the final step.
Okay. Seeing the self locally versus universally. Got it. What else did they discuss?
The light of man. Janaka suggests consciousness is our light.
Makes sense.
But Yajnavalkya goes deeper. He says the self, the Atman, is the ultimate light. It's the light behind consciousness, enabling it.
A light behind consciousness itself. That's deep. It even touches on idealism, right? Like, what about the external world if the self is the only real light?
Exactly. Yajnavalkya suggests the self is what illuminates even our perception of objects.
Okay, mind officially blown. Let's shift to the inner controller, the Antariaman. Sounds ominous.
Maybe a little, but it's described as this force residing within everything. Earth, water, fire, sun, moon, breath, mind, intellect.
All of it.
Inside everything.
Yes. But here's the thing. It's unknown to the things that it inhabits. It governs them from within, unseen, ungrasped.
Like a hidden puppet master.
Sort of, but benevolent. And ultimately, Yajnavalkya says this is the self. Your immortal self is this inner controller.
So that feeling sometimes, that intuition of a deeper guidance, maybe that's it.
That's definitely how the Upanishad presents it. Now let's talk about death. Always a cheerful topic.
Right. What's the Upanishadic take?
Well, it sees death partly as just the constant activity of the senses and also this whole cycle of, the food chain. Everything is food for death. It's the nature of the changing world.
The cycle of consumption. Grim but true. Is there a way out?
Yes. They talk about the death of death.
The death of death, meaning overcoming mortality through knowledge, achieving immortality. It's about the death of ignorance, which is seen as the root cause of getting caught in samsara, the cycle of birth and death.
So knowledge is liberation from that cycle.
Exactly. It's being led, as the famous prayer goes, from darkness, ignorance, death, to light, immortality, freedom.
From darkness to light. And for someone liberated, their senses just merge back.
Merge back into the self upon death, yeah. Return to the source.
Or return. Okay. Now, you mentioned our listener wants knowledge efficiently. We all sleep. What about deep sleep? Does that tell us anything?
Oh, absolutely. Deep sleep is seen as incredibly significant. It's a state of unity, no duality. You don't see or know anything else.
Unlike waking or dreaming where there's always me in the world or me in the dream objects.
Precisely. In deep sleep, the mind is said to return to the heart, and you experience this pure, impersonal bliss.
Impersonal bliss.
Yeah, untouched by waking worries.
Mm.
The self is said to shine in its own purity then. Some say it's like a taste of liberation, even if desires are still there, latent.
Wow. So every night we might be touching base with something close to our true nature.
That's the idea. It holds clues. Now, moving to a more conscious path, renunciation. Yajnavalkya decides to leave his household life.
A big step. He divides his stuff between his wives, right? Maitreyi and Katyani.
He does, and that leads to this incredible conversation with Maitreyi.
What happens?
She basically asks him, What good is all this wealth if it can't make me immortal? She
Yeah.
wants the real deal, the eternal knowledge.
She wants wisdom, not just stuff. Good for her.
Totally. So Yajnavalkya explains that we love things, spouse, children, wealth, not for themselves, but for the sake of the self within them.
Because of the self. Okay.
Maitreyi gets confused at one point, though. If the self merges into oneness, does it lose consciousness?
Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Yajnavalkya clarifies. The self is indestructible, immutable. It transcends our normal idea of consciousness, which depends on duality. It doesn't cease to exist.
It just exists differently, beyond subject-object.
Exactly. And this whole exchange highlights renunciation, letting go of desires and attachments as a key path to self-knowledge versus just, doing rituals or seeking worldly success.
Letting go to find the self. Powerful. What about those symbolic meditations you mentioned earlier?
Right. Using things like ether, the heart, truth, the sun as focus points.
But why? What's the point of meditating on, say, the sun?
The symbol is just a starting point, a tool. Use it to contemplate deeper realities, the interconnectedness it represents, and how that relates to your own being. It's a way to transcend the form.
Like using a map to understand the territory, not thinking the map is the territory.
Perfect analogy. The Gayatri Mantra meditation is another example mentioned, connecting it to the world and vital force.
Okay, and one last thing. One god, or many gods. How does Yajnavalkya square that circle in a text focused on oneness?
It probably goes back to that inner controller idea.
Ah, the Antaryaman again.
Yeah. Well, Brahman is the ultimate single reality. The many gods can be seen as different manifestations, different powers, or aspects of that one reality. The inner controller is the unifying principle within all that diversity.
So it's not really a contradiction, just different levels of looking at it.
Yeah, it seems to be the implication. Unity underlying diversity.
Wow. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. Just to recap for you, our listener, we talked about meditating on vital forces, uktha, the shift from outer ritual to inner understanding, the nature of Brahman and the self as this ultimate reality.
The dialogues with Gargi and Janaka peeling back layers of reality, the inner controller guiding everything unseen.
The meaning of death and immortality through knowledge, the insights from deep sleep, renunciation as a path.
Symbolic meditation, and reconciling the one and the many. It's been quite a tour.
Definitely. And a key thread seems to be this focus on inner realization, right? Direct experience over just belief.
Absolutely. It's about knowing through experience, not just accepting dogma.
For me, thinking about deep sleep as this nightly glimpse of our pure state, maybe close to liberation,
Yeah.
that's a real aha moment. Makes you think differently about just going to sleep.
It does, doesn't it?
And in today's world, which is so focused outward, this constant call to look inward for answers, for connection, it feels really relevant.
It offers a different kind of efficiency, perhaps.
Yeah.
Not just fast information, but profound experiential understanding.
Yeah. So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to mull over. If our deepest self is this inner controller, subtly guiding even our thoughts and senses, what does that really mean for our sense of personal control or free will? Are we driving the car, or is our sense of being the driver part of the ride itself?
A deep one to ponder. And really, this dive is just a starting point. We hope it encourages you to explore further, maybe even read the Upanishads yourself. It's a journey.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring.